Glenn and Vicky had always talked about escaping. The noise, the traffic, the endless rain. London felt like a city designed to grind them down, and they had been ground down enough. When the chance came to leave, to buy a crumbling little house on a small Mediterranean island, they didn't hesitate. They had never done anything like it before. Adventure wasn't usually their way, but they craved it now. It was a gamble, the sort of gamble they had never dared take. The house was ridiculously cheap, cheaper than they'd ever imagined. In fact, it cost less than 6 months' rent in their tiny London flat. The wiring looked suspect in the videos. The plaster flaked from the walls in the pictures, but the sea glittered just beyond the terrace. It looked like paradise through a shaky iPhone lens. The deal had been sealed through a WhatsApp group chat with a local notary who had sworn, hand on a Bible on video call, that the place was perfectly sound. The problem was, he couldn't find the Bible. The call had been chaos. He stumbled about his office, rooting through drawers, pulling out bits of paper, cigarette packets, at one point brandishing a takeaway menu as though that might do. Finally, sweating, he lifted a coffee-stained framed picture of the Pope from the shelf and pressed it to his chest. "By this," he slurred solemnly, "I swear to God." Glenn and Vicky couldn't stop laughing, not just because of the Pope photo oath, but because of the man himself. He looked like some half-forgotten 1970s television character. Part soft porn film extra, part cop show reject. He had the moustache, the sideburns, the wide-collared shirt. A smear of egg yolk dribbled down the buttons like a badge of dishonor. And here they were, trusting him with their future. It was madness, beautiful madness. And they went through with it anyway. For the first time in their lives, they leapt without looking down. The ferry shuddered into the harbour under a swollen red sun. Vicky gripped Glenn's hand tightly as they stepped onto the stone jetty, both of them smiling like schoolchildren. The air was thick with salt and grilled fish, and it seemed to carry promise. They walked uphill through whitewashed alleys until they found the first open door. A taverna with warped shutters and the hum of low conversation. Inside, it was cool and smoky. Old wood, lemon oil, the faint twang of a bouzouki spilling from a corner. They sat at a table, half giddy with tiredness, when a shadow loomed. A man. Tall, broad-shouldered, his white hair slicked back, his face worn into sharp lines. He carried himself with the ease of someone who had been watching the room long before they arrived. He raised his glass. "First time?" His accent was heavy, German. Glenn nodded. Vicky smiled. "You'll love it here," the man said. "Everyone does." He sipped his wine, eyes never leaving theirs. "I am Gunnar. I came here through friends. Not by accident. Nobody comes here by accident." They laughed politely, but Gunnar didn't. He leaned forward, eyes wide and unblinking, like an owl peering through dusk. His voice dropped. "You must understand," he said slowly. "This island, it either accepts you, or it rejects you." Glenn chuckled uneasily, glancing at Vicky. "Well, let's hope it likes us, eh?" But Vicky wasn't laughing. Her smile had gone. Something in her expression told Glenn she knew Gunnar wasn't joking. Gunnar raised his glass again, drained it, and turned away. Months passed. Vicky blossomed. She loved the island. She loved the colours. Vivid blues, blinding whites, the crimson of bougainvillea dripping from balconies. She loved the music drifting from tavernas at night. The oil and garlic smoke that seemed to cling to the air, the laughter that carried across the harbour. She said it was heaven. Heaven on earth. For the first time, she said, she felt like she had come home. Glenn didn't. He struggled. He stumbled over the language, humiliated by the blank stares of shopkeepers. He struggled with the people, polite but distant, always stepping back when he drew near. He struggled with the culture, the shops that shut when he needed them open, the bells that tolled at 3 in the morning, the heat that clung even after midnight. But what he missed most were the seasons. The gentle slide from summer into autumn, the smell of wet leaves, the sharpness of frost on pavements, the promise of snow, the clockwork rhythm of change. Here, the island was trapped in an endless summer, a fever that never broke. It suffocated him. He missed England. He missed the grey skies and the bacon rolls watching his football team. He missed knowing what tomorrow would look like. And then slowly, things began to change. He started to see them. At first, nothing more than flickers at the edge of his vision. But soon they became clearer. Dark shapes slipping through the streets at night. Tall, heavy, almost human. They never touched him. They never spoke. But they were there. Shadows. Color drained from his world. The sea no longer shimmered blue. The sky no longer blazed gold. The island to him became black and white, a negative of what Vicky saw. She, meanwhile, shone brighter each day. Her eyes sparkled, her skin glowed, her laughter danced through the air. She had become part of the island. Glenn felt only the weight of stone. The streets crumbled, the paint peeled, the faces turned away. Even Vicky seemed distant, her words floating as if through water. That was when he understood. The island had accepted Vicky, and it had rejected him. It came one night. They had been drinking wine on the balcony. Vicky was radiant, her eyes fixed on the moonlight across the sea. Glenn tried to smile, tried to match her warmth, but his hands shook. His glass slipped and smashed against the tiles. When he bent to pick it up, he saw them. Shadows in the corner of the balcony. 3, maybe 4. Tall as men, but wrong in their proportions. Too long in the arms, too narrow in the skull. Their shapes flickering like smoke wrapped in bone. Watching. Waiting. "Vicky!" he whispered. She didn't answer. She was staring out at the sea, humming softly, her face lit with peace. The shadows moved closer. Glenn tried to stand, but his legs locked heavy, as though the stone floor itself held him down. The air thickened, cold and sulphurous. The night pressed in around him, crushing, airless. "Vicky!" he croaked, reaching for her hand. She didn't move. She didn't even blink. And when she finally turned to him, her eyes weren't afraid. They burned with colors Glenn could no longer see, as if she were gazing into a sunrise only she could witness. "It's all right, Glenn," she said gently. "It's just the island." The shadows fell on him. They didn't tear him apart. They fed on him. His skin blistered, blackened, split, but no blood came. Instead, light leaked out, thin and screaming. His body twisted, dissolved into ash, his face folding into itself, his eyes sucked into dark hollows. His soul was dragged, clawed apart, swallowed piece by piece. The shadows devoured him until there was nothing left to take. His memories shredded, names and places stripped away until even the thought of Vicky was gone. And then there was nothing. Glenn ceased to exist. The next morning, Vicky woke to sunlight flooding the room. The broken glass was gone. The balcony was clean. Glenn's clothes were not folded neatly by the door. They were simply gone. She stretched, smiled, and felt lighter, happier. For some reason she could not explain, she felt free. There was no ache, no absence. When she thought back, she thought only of herself arriving on the island, alone. Down in the square, the islanders greeted her with warmth and laughter. They had no memory of Glenn. His name, his face, his presence erased, as though he had never drawn breath. Vicky walked among them, radiant. The island had accepted her. And in the shadows cast by the church, something moved. Thin, black, whispering. A shape with no name. No one noticed, not even Vicky. From the corner table of the taverna, Gunnar watched her pass. He lifted an ancient glass, its surface cracked, its contents swirling faintly with a pale, flickering light. It was not wine. It was Glenn. The glow twisted inside the vessel, desperate, voiceless. Gunnar raised it to his lips but did not drink. He only smiled, a thin, knowing smile, and whispered to himself, "The island accepts you, or it rejects you. And when it rejects you,
it gives you to me."
He swirled the glass again, and the light dimmed.